actual woodworking. Okay, to demonstrate these, but still wood, right? Yeah, my shirt does look like Grimace. Hey folks, Wes from Woody Name Woodworking, and today we're going to be taking a look at these Dado blades from CMT Orange. They're really hyping these up about the fact that they're the first Dado blades to be approved for use in the EU. I probably won't have a lot to say about that since I'm not in the EU and don't suffer from those restrictions, but these still look like some really cool Dado blades. And I've heard some good things about them, so why not give them a shot? And certainly giving them a shot has nothing to do with what happened to my previous set of Dado blades. Nothing happened to them. They're perfectly fine. There is not a random notch in this fence. Obviously, I didn't make a mistake and mismeasure things and run this through a Dado blade. Why, that would be crazy and do terrible damage to the Dado blade. So I'm not sure if you folks are aware of CMT Orange. They make blades and bits and things like that. It's all made in Italy, and the best guess is it's coming out of the exact same factory that the Freud stuff is. Now, Freud has a pretty good reputation in woodworking circles, and it's earned that over the years. But it's generally like twice the price of the CMT Orange stuff, and while I'm sure there are some differences, I've yet to notice them. I'm probably not that level of a woodworker to notice the difference between a CMT crosscut blade and a Freud crosscut blade, but for my purposes, the CMT stuff works really well. And one of the things I do want to emphasize about the 8-inch Lock Dado Pro, the new EU-approved version, versus the kind of traditional 8-inch Dado blade set that I had, is that the instructions are way, way better with the Lock Dado Pro set than they are with the regular 8-inch Dado set. So as you can see here, there are some pretty good illustrations of what the different shims look like, the different pieces and whatnot. And there's a nice little chart that tells you how many of these to use to make the various sizes. Now they have something kind of similar with the regular 8-inch Dado Pro set, but it's really unclear as to what exactly the different shims are, the different spacers are, and stuff like that. You really have to go through and kind of almost get out a pair of calipers to measure them. If you'll notice, the little chart for the regular Dado Pro set doesn't use numbers. It just uses little dots, and you have to kind of figure out how many go there. Now, it's not the hardest thing to understand, but this is a real step up, honestly. Now, the wife and I are both gamers to some extent. She's honestly way more of a gamer than I am. She plays Xbox, PlayStation, and PC now, whereas for the past few years, I've been pretty much only a PC gamer. And while she plays tons of different games, I basically play Fallout. And for the past year and a half or so, we've both played a lot of Fallout 76. Now, recently we were able to get her a gaming PC from Starforge Systems, and that's necessitated her moving from the couch where she did most of her gaming to a desk setup like most gamers have. You know, the gaming chair, the LEDs, all that kind of stuff. But a problem she's run into is that her feet don't really feel comfortable sitting on the ground when she's sitting in her chair. And so she asked me to make her a footstool, which is something I've slowly been working on, and something we're going to be working on today as a way to show how the Dado stack works. Now, obviously, I could have gone for a much simpler design than what I chose here, but the only way to grow one's skills are to challenge yourself, and that's what I decided to do here. So basically, this little footstool is going to be 6 inches tall, 12 inches wide, with a big kind of oval, rounded rectangle, not really sure what to call the shape, cut out in the center of it that mimics the overall shape. To ensure that both pieces are the same, given that I have to cut and sand these radiuses and stuff like that, I've actually fastened the boards together. Now, if you notice these lines at the top, that's to tell me basically what I want to notch out or cut out with the Dado stack. Now, the area I need to notch out on the footstool is about 6 inches wide, and obviously they don't make Dado stacks that go to 6 inches wide for normal consumer use, and also I'd be terrified to use something like that if I'm being totally honest. As you can see, this set goes from 15/64 all the way up to 13/16, so just shy of an inch. We could set it up at the max size, but this being my first time using this set, I don't really want to go that wide. My basic instinct says, let's try a 1/2 inch. Now, according to our little guide here, to do a 1/2 inch, we'll need our right and left blades, 2 of the 1/8 inch chippers, which are these guys, and 2 of the 0.0008 or 0.008 shims. Now, the big thing about this set is, if you caught from when I was talking about the name of it, is that it locks. So it's got these little notches that allow you to lock the chipper blades in place. Now, so now we're going to set our depth to a 1/2 inch and make a test cut before we set up our fence. It's definitely worth your time to do this kind of setup before you actually get to the project to make sure everything's really how you want it to be. And that is pretty much perfect. The thickness of this blade makes it really difficult to use this scale on the table saw. We're going to use this stick rule to actually measure this. Okay, I just kind of want to split the line at 3 inches. Okay. Again, we'll go ahead and make another test cut. I always like to keep some of these survey stakes around because they're really good for this kind of stuff. And lovely, our stick rule shows that we are at 3 inches. So first we'll do our 2 edge cuts, and we'll come back and do the center. As you can see, got our outside lines pretty well established. Now I'm going to be able to take off the stuff from the middle. Alright, so there's what it looks like initially. Needs a little bit of sanding, tuning up, but overall pretty good other than that little bit of breakout there and a little bit here. But that's kind of on me for not masking the project properly. So then after just a few short minutes of usage, what's the verdict so far? Well, I really like the locking aspect of it. I think that's a really good idea that they came up with, not just in terms of the European market, but I think for Americans as well. It's always annoying putting a dado stack in and having pieces kind of move around and clink into each other and stuff like that, and this kind of eliminated that problem. Also, I really like the instructions. They were so much clearer than they are on the regular dado stack. That being said, this was like $50 or, if it's on sale, maybe $70 more expensive than the regular dado stack, and I don't know if locking and better instructions are necessarily worth $50 to $70. Overall, the cut quality was pretty similar to the regular dado stack. But again, I may not really be the target audience for this. It could just be a random thing that Americans are buying this when the real audience are Europeans. Anyway, folks, let me know what you think about these new dado blades, or if you use dado blades regularly, and especially if you're European, are you thinking about giving these a shot? And as always, please do the YouTube stuff of like and subscribe. You guys have a great day. Thanks.